Liv Strom is a Swedish-Swiss writer with stories in Apex and Hexagon, among others. As a writer with aphantasia, she cannot visualize anything. She considers it a magic power to write characters who live on in others' minds. She's currently working on the Tales of Bones and Roses novel series. Liv, can't wait to hear your reading.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me as well. So I love fairy tales and mythology, so there's no surprise for anyone who would know me that my main series that I worked on for the last years are in an epic fantasy world where the main city is Tal, where we will be reading, and the first books are a twisted Cinderella retelling with lots of epic fantasy, a bit of romance, rebels, and magic. And I will be reading the scene where the prince just returned to the city because he is getting married, but his foreign bride is not there. And our Cinderella, Vanya, has been forced by the evil stepfather to try to steal the glass crown of the future queen of the city. She just snatched it at the engagement ball, ran into the forest, is being chased, and was slammed into a tree. And that's where I will start. The pressure on my chest lessened, and I was yanked around. Trapped between his muscular arms, I found myself looking up at a stormy face I had not been able to forget. A face everyone in Tal knew. I was, after all, still clutching the crown of his betrothed. Crown Prince Dmitry Alexander Ivanov's remarkable brown and blue eyes widened as the mage light came close enough to illuminate my face. His painful grip slackened before he withdrew his hands, as if burned, and stepped back. Though I should not, though it made no sense. I missed his warm hands on my arms. I could only return his stare, fear freezing me in place. What was he doing? Could I run? He had all the advantages, but at least he was not manhandling me anymore. Maybe in the dark he had not seen that I was dressed like a noblewoman. Stall until I can use my blade or see a chance to escape, I decided. Until then, deny and always stick to the lie. At least he seems to be unarmed. In the distance, the firelight had died down. Soon, the guards would return to their posts and notice the crown missing. Cold sweat coated my palms, but I refused to let it show. Instead, I made my body relax, a smile playing on my lips. Like in the theater, you only had to convince yourself to convince others, and I was great at lying to myself. With the bow my mother taught me as a child, I swept the ruined silk dress and lowered my head without taking my eyes off the prince. He was, if anything, both more beautiful and sterner up close. The jet black hair braided away from his face, the wide jaw clenched, and his nose broken at least once. Cheekbones sharp enough to cut, but dared touch. The famous eyes, one blue and one brown, both equally piercing. He looked like the people in Lowtown with nothing left to lose, dangerous. Threatening and tricking a noble was a capital crime. Touching a royal. With a raised eyebrow, I ignored all I knew and did what my stepfather and sister had forbidden me. I improvised. You don't really want to marry a foreign princess, do you, my prince? Without a crown, no marriage. It's better for all, no? It was a wild guess, but he had not seemed happy to be riding to his own wedding, and instead of celebrating or getting his bride, he had been lurking in the shadows with me. Even in the artificial light, I could see his cheeks redden and fists clench. Instinctively, I pressed up against the tree again and inched my hand toward a hidden knife. I could tear it out and thrust it into him in one smooth motion. I don't wish to drag anyone into marriage against her will, he said. But this time, neither party has a choice. It was decided before we were 5 years old. I hesitated as he held out his hand for the glass crown. My chance of escape would greatly increase without it. He might even let me go. Better for me and my sister to remain in debt than dead. Alive, there was always a chance for a better future. With a sigh, I placed the circlet in his hand. Joined by the glass, a jolt surged through me, pulling at something inside, as if he wanted to eat my very spirit. The throbbing bruise from when I hit the wall the previous night flared in pain, and my coiled hair must surely have stood on end. As one, we let go, and the crown landed on the ground with a dull clang. The prince pulled his hand through his hair, loosening the careful braid, and looked at me with inscrutable eyes. And that, Princess Helia von Heskin, is why they want us to marry. I stared at him, his words repeating in my mind without making any more sense than when they left his mouth. What? He scowled, his face all sharp angles in the cold, magical light. Don't lie. I don't understand why you would not announce your arrival. But your court painter captured your likeness well enough, Princess. You are even wearing your own colors. In no fantasy could I have invented this, pretended this princess. He was nuts, bat-bitten. He thought I was his bride. The prince picked up the crown from the ground and offered me his free arm, his back straight as a spear. My eyes flickered to the dark trees. Maybe he was crazy enough to let me go. Surely he would not hurt the princess. Quick as any street thief, he grabbed my arm. I don't want to lock my bride up like a common prisoner, he said. But I will if you force me. We were both raised to this. It's a matter of contracts. If you want to break it, you have to negotiate it with my father, and good luck to you. He had tried. I could hear it in his hard voice. Though stealing your own crown was certainly inventive, he continued. Without it, perhaps even he would delay the wedding. In silence, he led me back through the forest, and soon calls could be heard across the grounds. The guards knew the crown was gone. I had failed. So that's the opening, or the meet cute, of Stealing Glass, which is part of a duology of Cinderella retellings. It's the second book that came out early this year. And it's a connected series in the same world, where book number 4 is coming out in October with a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. And I would really love you all if you check them out. And thank you so much for being here.